Good afternoon. Welcome to the February 14th St. Valentine's Day edition of the Police Station Building Committee. I see we have a quorum, and this meeting is called to order. First on the agenda, we have the minutes from January 10th, 2022. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of January 10th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve and accept the minutes from January 10th, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Next, we have some bills to pay. We have several. We can take them as one group, but I will itemize them. We have Fontaine Brothers, $646,428. Allied Testing Laboratories, $780. Allied Testing Laboratories, $3,140. Construction Monitoring Services, $50,000. Colliers, $1,260. Another Colliers for $950. And Tecton Architects, $47,146.25, for a grand total of $749,704.25. Any questions or comments? There being none. Do we have a motion?
Reapprove.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the bills as just stated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Thank you, everybody. All right, next we move on to our reports. First, we have Neil Joyce from Construction Monitoring Services. Good afternoon, Neil.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll keep my comments brief because I think Matt's going to touch on a lot of it as well. But I will say we've had a very good month despite the weather. We've managed to hold schedule, which is always a plus this time of the year. And we are headed into the metal truss and roofing is currently in progress. And then we will plan for slabs with continued good weather late in February and early in March. And then begin the construction of the interior walls and petitions on the first and second floors. You all should have received via email, I believe, the updated budget. Total expenditures to date are just shy of $8.8 million so far, almost 23%. Things are proceeding, I think, as well as could be expected for this time of year.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Neil? No, I'm sure there's some will pop up as we move along here. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
And that brings us to Matt Salad from Tecton Architects. How you doing, Matt?
Very good. Good
Good.
afternoon, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Want to flip forward for me? All right, quick update. I've got a design side and a construction side. So on the design side update, we do have an updated drawing included in the presentation for the latest second exit drive and ball field layout on the adjacent property. So we'll get into that at the slide deck. Furniture selection is ongoing. There's an image on the right from the Knoll showroom in Boston that we met with the chief and some members of the police department at earlier this month, the day after that blizzard, just to finalize some office furniture and a few other pieces. They followed up with Sheehan's, one of the furniture vendors in Worcester, earlier today, actually, to go over some task chair selections. So we're just putting the final touches on that furniture package, which is really one of the major pieces of the FF&E procurement. FF&E beyond that is ongoing. There's a number of smaller packages that we're starting to pull together, appliances and things like that. So those will continue throughout the duration of the project as those selections get honed down and finalized. And then on the construction coordination with that, the submittals and RFIs are continuing to flow in and out. And there's been no major issues or substitutions or anything to report to the committee. Those are just kind of going along the normal course. As Neil had mentioned, and Ryan will elaborate on, these are just some of the major pieces of construction over the past month. That image on the right is from the January 10th presentation. And the next slide will show us the progress to date. But since we last met, the transformer has been delivered, set, and energized, so temporary power has been brought into the building. There's some lighting and things like that going in there for temp lighting, so that's a big major milestone and hurdle to get over. For the most part, the structural CMU has been completed. There's just one section along the cell area on the second floor that remains, and there's just a little bit of steel detailing and coordination with that to tie that last piece in. Metal decking has been installed throughout the second floor and flat roof areas. Detailing is for the most part complete with that, so those are ready for slabs pending good weather. And if you drove by today, you'll notice that pretty much all the roof trusses have been installed as well, so those are getting ready for sheathing. As well as the sort of green that you see going on the outside of the walls, the exterior sheathing. So as the exterior walls are being framed, they're being sheathed right behind them. So that's that green board you're seeing chase around the building, and I think we're just past the 50% point for the ground floor. So that's a good amount that's going in there, along with the window openings and window blocking associated with that. And then over the next month, you'll see that framing, sheathing, and blocking continuing. Pretty quickly here, you'll see, once the trusses are done, you'll see the roof decking going on and getting that temporary roof installed to start making the building weather tight, so the slabs can be prepped and poured. And then once the sheathing's completed on the exterior, you'll start to see the envelope prep going on. So you'll see brick ties going up, and then the spray foam following that. And then right behind the foam installation is going to be the brick. So within the next couple of months here, you'll start to really see that facade develop. And we just have a few images just to show the progress over the past month. You can see from what was basically just a skeleton before of the structural steel post topping off ceremony, now the window blocking and sheathing and exterior framing are going on around the building. So quite a lot of the guts are sort of being filled in, going around. So this is at the front entry. Going around the back side, this is sort of where the exterior framing and sheathing started, and so you can see it in more of a complete condition here. This is essentially ready for masonry ties in the thermal envelope portion of the exterior wall construction to be detailed. This is a view from the second floor, so this is kind of looking right in the middle of the building and looking towards where the chief's office would be. So you can see all the light gauge metal trusses being framed up and set. And then this is a view from the flat roof area. This is where a majority of the mechanical equipment will be going in, and just to the left, where the framing kind of kicks back up in the image, that's kind of where the entrance to the mechanical room from the second floor roof would be. And then looking back the other way, you can see the rest of the metal decking for the flat roof area, that elevated portion of the exterior masonry walls with the window openings there. That's the higher portion of the fitness area, which sits right down below that, and where that contractor is off in the background there. That's just over the garage area as well. Just a couple of images on the interior. Not much has changed since you last saw it here. This is pretty much remaining the same, just keeping everything prepped for the slabs. You can see the temp lighting that's been installed and some of the electrical that's been run for that. And then lastly, just an interior view of some of the sheathing. This is actually from where the high density storage is going to be in the clerk's office. So we're looking at the exterior windows that they'll have. And then an update on the ball field and second exit drive. This is a sketch that Fuss & O'Neill prepared last month. It's been reviewed by the working group, was included a couple of weeks ago in your committee, in your weekly update. It has been reviewed by the Cemetery and Parks Commission as well. And it's been well received so far. So what you see off to the north is that drive, just showing a little more detail of how that sort of snakes up from the connection to the what will be the existing parking lot. and then off to the existing drive, hugging the property line as tight as we can. We have a small berm to the south of that, just to prevent any vehicles from going from the parking lot up into the drive itself, and then a gravel parking area with one handicap parking space. That one space would be paved in order to make it handicapped accessible. So that gravel parking would sit just below the drive itself, with that berm in between it, sort of as a vehicle barrier, and then a gate at the main existing drive of the ball fields into the second exit drive, so that it's secure for police access and use only. That's all I have for that and for the update. Any
Okay.
questions,
Thanks,
comments?
Matt. Questions?
Pat,
Sure. Oh,
I have a couple of questions on that design. I like the way you laid it out, but I don't understand why. I understand the purpose of the berm, but I don't understand why we're not running a chain link fence between that parking area and that driveway to make sure nobody goes in there at all. And why we have a 4-foot fence on the southern end of the parking area instead of having those wooden guardrails like we have in the rest of the park, or the fields. It just seems to me like it would make a lot more sense to have that driveway, the police drive, really segregated off from the rest. So I was just wondering what the thought process was behind that.
No. So let me start with the fence along the drive instead of a guardrail there. So that the intent with that was to provide some, a little bit more protection to the vehicles from any balls or anything like that would be kicked in that direction. So that was the reason why we went with the 4-foot height actual fence there, just for that layer of protection. If you so choose, we could go with a guardrail and something there just as a vehicle barrier and not as something that would stop a ball from going through. That's certainly up to the discretion of the town and what they want to do.
I was more, well, I still like the guardrail idea, even if there's a fence there, but I was more concerned about the driveway in the back, why that doesn't have a fence. I understand the berm idea, but it just, I don't know, maybe functionally it does the same thing, but in my mind, it just seems like that should be blocked off. I'm just wondering why we didn't.
Chair, if I may.
Keith.
Well, I think one of the reasons, might be because there's actually gonna be a gate at the end of the driveway, the police parking lot, so that area is secure. You know,
No, I understand that part of it, and I understand there's gonna be a berm, but, kids being kids, they walk over the berm.
Sure.
It just seems like, I was thinking more of a safety thing than anything. I knew there was a gate at the end. I didn't know if it was because of making sure that you had room to push the snow, and it would destroy a fence if there wasn't enough room, but.
Yeah, there's some of that too, because if you were to fence in the drive, I think our thought was where do you end with it? Certainly could end at the gate, but you would have to do to achieve the effect that you're thinking, you would have to do both sides of the drive.
Well, I was thinking more of separating the field area from the drive, not as concerned about the back.
I guess my question is, what are we trying to do there, Matt? Are we trying to keep pedestrians out of that area or vehicles?
Our intent was vehicles.
So the berm, it seems to me, that would keep the vehicles out, and it's probably more aesthetically pleasing to have the berm there than more fencing. My only thought, if we're not too concerned about pedestrian, if kids go up there to chase a ball or,
I know from the teams playing, you're not gonna have an issue, but if you go to like Floral Street, when the kids are playing, the other kids that are there with the families are all over the place, and they're up on the sides of those, how that's dug down, they're everywhere. And I just see that happen, and I know hopefully we're not gonna have to use that driveway very much at all, so it might not be an issue, but I just figured I'd bring it up now because now's the time to bring it up.
okay. Donna?
I agree with Mo, and I guess the way I would state it would be anybody with playing in that area a game, the children that come along with their parents will look at that as such an inviting place to go play, whether it's to dig or whether it's to just run, kick a ball, or whatever, because it's nice and smooth for them. So I think it's a very, very much an inviting place to go. My question, and I think there needs to be some sort of clear obstruction, you're not welcome beyond this point. And I'm wondering if the fence we keep talking about and the picture that I gave, should the fence that I would like to see there be something along the westerly side of that road? So set it up there and say, okay, don't come beyond this point, because it would be so easy for somebody coming out of there in an emergency for whatever the crisis is, and at the same time, there's a ball game going on, and kids will be all over the place, because that's what they do. And in the parents' eyes, they're gonna say, well, I could see them there, but I just think we should do whatever we can to make it look like you're not welcome beyond this point. And I think we should do it in an aesthetically pleasing way, so that there's no question.
If I could just add, and I'm going back to Floral Street, because I've been here a lot, my grandkids are playing. That berm being 4 feet high or whatever is kind of an attractive nuisance. The little kids like to run up the hill and roll down it. I don't see why that would be any different, so, I made the point, but I'd like to see us at least think about it. Even if the fence, well, I don't think it would look good, but if you wanted to keep the berm, put a fence on top of the berm, but it might not look too good, but anyways. I just think, that just knowing the way kids are, I just think it's an issue.
I don't know if I'm visualizing it correctly, but is it unrealistic to think that you could put a wrought iron type fence, or wrought iron looking aluminum, whatever it is, along there? And it's like, this, don't come into this area, no? I mean, make the message clear. And I do believe you put a berm, it'll be wonderful to run and climb on. I mean, I have a stone wall in front of my house, and you can't imagine people that brainlessly let their little toddlers walk along the wall, and they don't even think about the kid falling off and hitting the pavement. So put that there in the middle of a ball game where their kids are gonna be soccer champions of the world, and they're not watching their kids. That's just the way it goes. So for so many reasons, I think we need to be thoughtful about how we obstruct people from going any further.
How high is the berm?
Just a couple feet.
My opinion of fences is that people just climb them and want to go over and see what's over the fence. So I don't necessarily think that fences are like, don't go there, pass over. Like, I think that people climb over fences to make it fun. So perhaps seeing a rendering, if Fuss and O'Neill can do like a rendering looking towards the driveway, would that help the committee feel a little bit more comfortable what it might look like in person?
With the berm, you mean?
But
Yeah.
See a rendering of the berm.
I guess when I said a fence, I meant like a 6-foot fence.
And
Not one of those little ones that kids will.
No, I think of any fence that people just want to climb over fences.
Yeah, I mean, I used to hop
don't
the fence
see-
at
That's
Fuller
why we don't
Stadium all the
fence
time.
retention
Yeah, well,
basins
older
anymore.
kid-
People just get in there
Think
and
about
can't
it.
get
I used to
out.
climb the fence where the tennis courts were
Yeah,
at Lake Park, so we didn't have to pay 50 cents to get in.
Right,
But
right.
I think this is,
they don't climb the
it's a little
St.
bit-
John's fence that I keep talking about and
Yeah.
making reference to. That people don't climb that fence. There's never kids on that fence, and it's because it's not a climbable fence. It'll hurt.
Patrick?
So.
Yes, Chief.
You know, with this, I think having it, I don't know, be nicer is better. I don't think we're gonna be using this that much. And if we do, we'll be leaving with our lights and siren. So I don't think we need a fence.
Well, that's my inclination too. I mean, kids are going to be there playing. There's not going to be a lot of traffic there. You know, and to a certain extent, it's the parents' responsibility to keep an eye on their kids.
Till you hit them.
Perhaps like,
If I did really.
perhaps some very specific signage, that's kind of tastefully done, because if they know why and what type of property they shouldn't trespass on.
Right. I think that's a good point. You know, emergency vehicles only, or, you know, something like that, something that's a little more subtle.
Police
Matt,
department
the berm is only
property.
2 feet.
Yeah, if you
I don't know
figure
why I
it's,
thought it was like 4.
yeah, it's only 10 feet wide, so if you figure it's a 4-to-1 slope, you wouldn't have a really
Well,
steep
actually,
slope there.
to be honest with you, if it's only 2 feet high, I'd be more concerned. Because then it's real easy to walk over and play in there.
Yeah, I'd say one thing from an outsider's point of view is that everyone should keep a perspective on where the end of the fence would be too, because you do have a couple 100 feet on either side for the police car to get out of. That's through a park as well, so just don't want to look at it in a vacuum of where the pavement ends and what's around it, but that's just my opinion.
I think to Kristen's point, if we could get some sort of rendering and maybe a better look as to what it would be, I think that would help. I mean, it's certainly not anything we have to decide today.
Right.
But
So
2
it's
feet's
kind of an
not-
ongoing
2 feet's not
process.
as high as this table.
No, I understand.
Yeah, it's simply there as a vehicle deterrent, not a people deterrent.
It's a delineation, really.
Right.
Right.
These are separate spaces.
Yeah, and I think, I'm trying to drive here, it's not, but if we were to fence it in, ultimately, are we fencing in both sides? And then, what we had talked about in the past was that just putting a small gate or a chain to prevent vehicle access coming down the other way with some signage and things like that. So I think if we were to go down that road, my concern would be somebody's kid gets halfway down the drive and then a cruiser has to come ripping out of here, and now the kid's kind of trapped in a tunnel
Right.
with nowhere to go. Conversely, the same thing a day like today when there's snow in there and it's being plowed and maintained. It's really hard to plow with a couple of feet of fence on
Yeah.
either side at the same
Is
time.
there not much room on either side of that drive?
We're 5 feet or 5 or 6 feet away from the property line. We to get as much play field area available as possible. The charge was to sort of keep the drive as far to the north as we could, so we're right up against.
I was wondering about if we had a heavy winter where the snow would go.
You're also, I mean,
Could be an issue.
not to be, you're also talking about cost too. I agree, I think you need to fence both sides if you're gonna fence it.
I thought there was a fence on the backside of that property over there.
No, there's a fence now. It's an old ratty 4-foot-high chain link fence that's kind of rusted out.
On the backside?
And there's,
Yeah, you
On
can
the
see it in
backside
the-
was removed with the UMass demo
Yeah.
last spring.
Right, there's not a fence on it?
the existing one is that diagonal line that cuts through that. It's kind of got barbed wire on the top.
Construction fence.
Okay,
Yeah.
for some reason I thought there was one in the back
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The straight fence along the back where would run parallel with the drive is the property line, essentially.
That's only a construction fence now.
Yeah, so that will be gone at the end of this.
Sounds like an ongoing discussion, but if we could work on a rendering for that, I think that'd be helpful.
Sure.
All right, anything else? No? Excellent. Thanks. Thanks, Matt. Nothing else from Matt, correct? Okay, we will move on to Ryan.
Okay, so this past month was a fight against Mother Nature and really identifying our critical path schedule items and focusing everything we could on getting trusses in the air and working on getting metal deck and roofing to get going shortly. So obviously we pushed everything we could to try to get a slab on deck poured before the trusses started. But due to the cold weather at the end of January, we weren't able to get that to come to fruition. We had concerns about, even with heating underneath, that we'd have freezing on the slab if it was placed in the cold temperatures that we experienced at the end of January. So it was everybody's best interest to hold that off. Looking at our schedule, our critical path was to make sure we started the trusses on time and pushed them so we could get the roof going on time to get the building watertight to get trades going. So right now, in the next week or so, I expect the metal deck to be going on. and to be starting the roofing shortly. In one of the photos Matt had earlier, actually, looking at the south end of the west end of outside of patrol and roll call, we had our first delivery of roof Dens deck, which is great to see roofing material show up on site. If anybody's aware of material shortages, roofing materials, insulation, AVB is one of the big items. So we worked very closely with Stanley Roofing to make sure we could get materials on site as we needed them to maintain the project schedule. So it's great seeing all that material come to site after months of discussion about it. So we hope to be starting the roofing in the next week to 10 days. And following that, we have our flat roof material scheduled to be delivered to site the middle of March. Now that we're coming out of the frigid cold month of January and temperatures are starting to warm up higher during the day, we're going to be starting ground thawing to get the frost out of the ground so we can get any of the miscellaneous trench drains in the sally port in the garages and any other last minute MEPs that have to go in the ground prior to the slab on grade pour. That's all going to start moving in the next couple weeks. Hopefully at the next meeting, I'll be saying that we are seeing our last slab pour this week or next week. So we're going to be looking at slabs on deck and on grade, as well as roofing coming up here in the next month. There's been a lot of communication with all the MEP trades on getting timing set up so they have the manpower once we have those areas opened up for them to start the rough-in, as well as the exterior facade. We are scheduled to have our first deliveries of brick and precast the first full week of March, I believe. So a lot of planning is starting to come together, and there should be a lot of activity picking up. Just thankful that we were able to fight through the weather this past month and keep moving forward.
Ask what?
No.
So, am I correct that there's not much activity going on, particularly up on the second floor right now, or there wasn't because putting the trusses up?
Yeah, so we only had the truss crew working on the second floor just with the crane swinging trusses. We don't want anybody working on other activities just as a safety
So,
concern.
are there, except for the crews that are working on the exterior, closing in, is there much activity going on inside the building, like even on the first floor? I'm just curious.
On the first floor, there isn't right now. We have all that exterior enclosed, so we just have to get the frost out of the ground, get the last
First.
prepped in, and then we can get our slab on grade in.
And once the roof on the sloped roof, once the I can't think of the right word. We're not going to wait until the shingles are on before they can work underneath there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. As soon as the metal deck's on,
Yeah.
they'll start the prep for the slab on deck. So as they're getting the roof watertight, they'll be doing the prep for the slab on deck and probably pour it before the roof is completely dried in. It was once the deck's on, there isn't a safety concern for them putting Dens deck, AVB, and so on top of it.
So then there'll be a lot more activity. Once that deck is on, it's going to be a lot more activity in
Correct.
the building, right?
Yep. Inside the building, outside the building. Yep. It was really just a month of our critical path is getting the roof going on the second floor so we can kind of have everybody follow
I think
that.
it's shaping up really nicely. It's the street. I hadn't seen it for a few weeks because I couldn't drive for a few weeks. And it started up, I don't know, just not seeing it for a few weeks and then seeing it where it's starting to get closed in, you could really start to see the shape of the roof and stuff. It really looks good.
I agree. Anybody else? No, very good. Thanks, Ryan. Looking forward to hearing progress next month. All right, that brings us to item number 5, review and act on the following Fontaine Brothers, Inc. change orders. And we have change order 002, which was in our documents, and it's a lengthy list. Ryan, how do you want to do this? Do you want to review these, or?
I believe the precedent we set on the first one was that Neil talked through all of them.
Okay, Neil. You're back up? Thank you.
Ready to roll. Thank you.
You set the precedent, Neil.
So this had 2, 4, 6, 8 items, 9 items on it. So I'll just try to go through them quickly. The first one was a change in the size of holes that are allowable by DPH in the security grills that are located on all the HVAC registers in the detention area. It was resulted in a change of $1,297. We took a credit for some blindside waterproofing that was not required. If you all recall, when we were designing the building, sort of late in design, we raised the building about 1 foot to 1.5 feet on the site. And when we did that, we did not omit the blindside waterproofing, which, because we raised the building, would not be needed. So that resulted in a credit of $6,070. The additional trees that we spoke about at the entrance to Town Hall, $6,204. We spoke about that, I believe, at the last committee meeting. We added some alternative detailing for slab penetrations in foundation walls, particularly in the area going into and around the dispatch room. That resulted in about $1,640, largely due to changes in the reinforcing. Similar to a prior PCO, during structural coordination, 2 additional lintels, which are support beams that are located in the masonry, in the garage and fitness area. Those beams were added again after the buyout was completed and are being funded through the scope hold for structural steel. There was an omission of radiant panel in room 157. That's an area right outside of the detention bay. That is a $5,995 change. And the last item is the relocation of hose bibs from the exterior masonry wall cavity to an interior masonry wall cavity. And that was a change for some work that was done. We did not like the fact that it was in the exterior wall cavity for fear of freezing, so we moved it into the heated portion of the space, and that was an added cost of $2,080 to redo that work. So all of those changes are being funded through the CM contingency and will not affect the GMP price. And the last 2 change orders, or last 2 PCOs on the change order are the first 2 installments of the costs associated with the gender-neutral toilets that we spoke of over the past several meetings. The first one is PCO 12R, and that was for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing revisions for the first floor toilet suites at a cost of $20,751. And the second is the MEP revision for the second floor gender-neutral toilet suite at $6,552. The 2 toilet suite changes will be funded through the owner's contingency.
And that falls within that $100,000 that,
Yes.
okay. And how are we doing on that? We're well within that? Do we think by the time we're done with all these changes in the gender-neutral bathrooms?
We have preliminary pricing from a majority of it at the time. We haven't vetted through what has been provided by the subcontractors yet, and I wouldn't be doing you a service by telling you what number we have at the moment.
Okay.
Because it's unvetted, and we've knocked a good chunk off of each one as they've been presented to us, so let us spend another week or 2 hashing through those and making sure that the takeoffs are correct from the subs, and then I'll advise back
Okay,
after one of our PCO meetings.
very good, thank you. Any other questions on the change orders? No. All right, very good. Seems fairly straightforward. All right, so I guess we need to approve these. So I'm assuming we Need a motion to approve change order number 002.
Make a motion. we
To
accept
authorize the
change
town
order.
manager to, do you want to authorize the town manager to sign?
So we want to authorize the town manager to what, Kristen?
To authorize change order number 2.
Okay, so do we have a motion to authorize the town manager to approve change order number 2?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Thank you. Brings to item number 6, review and act to approve the 2021 annual town report. You all received a copy of that? I assume. Any questions or comments on that? Donna?
I just wondered if between March 9th and September 3rd, if there could be any kind of a statement in between. Because it just seems that we jumped from the appointment to the groundbreaking ceremony. And it could be that something that's further below could actually be part of what I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate it, which would be the amount of times we've met and so forth. Just to show that a lot happened between March and September.
Kristen, Kristen, are there certain requirements for this report?
There's not requirements, but we're happy to kind of maybe fill in the items that say the committee meetings consisted of, towards the bottom of the first page and top of the second page, and Alex and I can perhaps work on dates. that
Okay,
Those might fill in those.
just a
those
few more
items.
details.
Yep.
Is that what you're looking
That's all
for,
I'm
Donna?
looking for. It just went, and I just thought there could be something.
Sure. And Kristen, this report goes, where does this go? Is this for town meeting
It
and
goes in the annual report book.
in the annual report book? Okay. But then at town meeting, we'll have to make a different report to
Correct.
town meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
The most up-to-date information at that time.
Okay, all right, very good. I was just trying to distinguish the two. All right, anything else? So should we hold off on approving this then?
Well, it does go to press,
I think the middle of March is the first revision date.
so we can make those revisions and send them out to each committee member individually. If you're not comfortable making a vote in concept, that's okay.
Donna?
I don't mind voting in concept because I think Kristen knows what
Okay.
I was describing, and so I think this is fine. With that addition, it'll be fine.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So I guess we need a motion to approve the annual town report.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the annual town report with upcoming slight revisions. All those in favor?
Right.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Donna. Which brings us to other business. Do we have anything? Anybody have anything?
Oh, I have a question. Actually, I was
No.
thinking other business. Kristen, whatever happened to the electronic sign board that we were talking about having?
I think we're still working through it, right, Matt? We haven't really chosen anything.
It just kind of fell off the radar.
We've met with the signage vendor that is under contract with Fontaine, and they have the digital signboard in their scope.
But I thought you were working on a final design. No?
No.
We have a final design on that?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, the architecture of the
You want to pull it up,
the
Brian?
design of it was in the original construction contract. So
Okay.
the only open
I thought
item-
that was subject to revision. Okay, I don't have a problem with what was there.
Until it's-
What is it basically you're working on, the electronic sign that's gonna be within the structure?
Yep,
Oh, so the.
that was the
way-
only open piece of it.
Okay, so what we saw in the plan is what we're gonna get, then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, unless you want
Which
to.
No, I have a problem.
Which one? Pull it up.
I don't have a problem with it, I just, for some reason I thought there was more going on with that. Might not be, I just, my recollection, I thought when I talked to Kristen a long time ago, there was more going on with that, I thought that was more of a concept plan, I guess.
Yeah, the only part that was in question was the actual digital piece of the signboard, and the signage vendor was able to provide that.
Okay.
Yep. It's not on the screen.
I see that. Oh, is it not on the screen? Why is it not on the screen?
Cut and paste it to the,
How do I do that?
Do you have something you can show us? Is that what you're looking
I'm
for?
working on that.
Okay. Would that
There it
help,
is,
Mo?
there it is.
don't move.
Oh, that's fine, I just,
Stop right there.
when you said other business, I just happened to think.
Yeah.
So it's a double-sided marquee that'll sit out at the drive apron, essentially. It's sort of framed out in the same brick that'll match the building. So it's the same brick detailing with some precast, and then the same sort of dimensional lettering that the signage vendor is going to make for the town of Shrewsbury and the town seal. That'll be cast aluminum. And then on either side, there'll be that digital board that you see there.
How big is the digital board? I think you told us one
It's
place.
5 feet wide,
That's it.
60 inches?
Yeah, it's 5 by 2.5.
5 feet by 2.5 feet?
That was, we did confirm that with the signage vendor, that would be the appropriate size for that location for vehicular traffic.
Okay. That's
Okay.
good.
You good?
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Anybody else have anything? No? Okay. We have our just regularly scheduled meetings, March 21, April 18th, May 16th.
Mr. Chairman, could I
Yes.
just comment on that? So April 18th is Patriots' Day,
Okay.
so we would have to look to change that date.
Yep.
And then May 16th is potentially town meeting. The Board of Selectmen has not voted yet to have a meeting on May 14th, which is a Saturday, or start on the 16th.
Okay.
So that can still stay for now, because I think the board's voting in early March on the date.
Okay. So why don't we keep our March 21 meeting and we
March-
can revise?
March 21st, and then April 18th, and we'll definitely have to change, and May 16th may have to change.
Okay. But we can change them at the March 21 meeting, correct?
Is that okay, or do you want to change it now? Okay.
March 21 is okay?
What's that?
It is or it isn't?
March 21 is fine, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think that'll give schedules will be more set, we'll have a little more flexibility, I think, if we,
All I was gonna suggest is, I don't know when school vacation is, it must be the week of the 18th?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So you just wanna move it to the week before, so people at least have an idea?
we can do that.
Or you need to also for your,
Or whatever
Yeah.
you need.
Because our first is a Friday, so as long as I get comments back Friday or Monday.
I mean, we can wait, but
Fill
I,
it outright. We won't have any comments to make.
I gotta give you a red herring.
So what do you want to move that to the 11th?
That would work for I
Yeah. it's
don't have
okay
a
with
problem
me.
with that.
Okay,
yeah.
why don't we'll propose April 11th. I've lost track of school vacations. I don't.
Way beyond that.
Yes, exactly. Thankfully.
When's Easter, like the 24th?
and then we're waiting on May 16th?
we're waiting on May 16th.
We'll wait on May
Let's keep that as a
16th. Okay,
placeholder.
so for right now, we're March 21, April 11th, and May 16th is to be determined. Okay. Anything else, anybody? All right, everybody want to get home to their loved ones? Yes, no? All right.
Donna, did you want to talk about this?
Oh,
Oh,
so,
Donna, go
Chairman,
ahead.
just one thing, not to beat a dead horse, I've given everyone a picture of Mo's fine photography of the way the trees appear as the winter goes on. This picture actually still doesn't show to me what I see as I come down the street and look in this direction, because when I'm coming down the street, I can see straight through all of that wooded area, seeing the ground at the bottom of the base of the trees, and seeing the building pretty clearly. And so I just want us to keep in mind and watch, because even between now and March, you're gonna see that area gets the appearance of being even more open, and to think of a chain link fence versus a fence that's more presentable. Just keep it in mind, and as you come down the street, you can do like I do and look and go, see, this is what I mean.
Instead of watching the road?
Huh?
Instead of watching the road?
Instead of what? No.
Make
Usually,
note.
Watch your
for the
Kevin.
record, as a passenger. Smarty pants.
All right, thanks, Donna. I will pay more attention to it next time I'm driving
Okay.
down.
And the roof looks beautiful. So
Yeah, the
exciting.
building's really coming together nicely. It's fun to drive by and see the progress.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, hold on for a second, before you go.
Yeah.